We are here at Everyday Athlete Gym with John and Tommy, and I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourselves first to start things off.
Thomas?
Me go first. Hello. It's weird being in here and you've been the boss for the
I
day.
know.
Well, I'm Tommy. John is my business partner. We run and own Everyday Athlete Gym. Yeah.
And Everyday Athlete Gym, what kind of things do you do here? For example, like just right off the bat, like because
We do a lot of things.
like we were saying before this, is to me it's one of the best gyms.
Thanks, man.
And one of the things I was kind of curious about and wanted to kind of get right into was when I first heard about it, it was through Martin,
Uh-huh.
and he's obviously one of your partners here, and he was pals with my brother at school.
Yep.
So he put out a Facebook post about all how you were all building up in that, and then I came in, and it was spectacular. So my kind of question about this is, how did that all kind of come about for you guys? Where did the idea of starting your own gym here come about to begin with?
Oh, this is going back a few years, isn't it?
So, backstory. We've worked together for not far off 15 years, like 13, 14 years. Me, myself and John worked together in Caledonia University. We're both like health and fitness advisors up there. The other partner who's not here, Patrick, he was a PT and he actually lived in Australia. This is going back, man. This is like 2000 and something. But he came back and we started a boot camp together, which was called Fight Camp. That was before the gym days. We ran the boot camps for years. We done them here. We done them abroad.
That was how I first heard about it.
Yeah, Fight Camp, right? That was the boot camp at the time. One of the first boot camps that hit Glasgow, so way back in the day. This is before you had full-time strength and conditioning, CrossFit style gyms. When we were running the boot camps, years down the line, like, so if you go from that point to us opening up the gym, a lot had happened. The boot camp thing was going great. We had ran them to death. The only way that we could do more of what we wanted to do was to own our own facility and expand. So we only had hours in the morning, hours in the evening, but we had so much more we wanted to do and so much more we wanted to offer to people. Yeah. And the only way we could do what we seen as a complete program that we loved was to open our own facility. Both of us were kind of at the point where we're like, right, okay, we're kind of done working for an establishment that we don't particularly see ourselves identifying with. So we're like, well, we need to do it our own now. And
we both loved the fitness industry, but we both, I guess, saw things that we didn't like working in a commercial gym. And we knew that we could definitely create a space that would be a lot more fun and a lot less regimented. There's a lot of red tape in commercial gyms that we wanted to get people in and do something a bit different.
And our whole idea was like it's accessible to everyone. Like I mean, you know yourself, it's super diverse when you come in here. Do you know what I mean? There's kids, you know, there's adults, there's athletes, there's 16, 17-year-olds, you know, people that are drawing a pension. Do you know what I mean? And that everyone's thrown down in strength and conditioning classes. There's Muay Thai as well, the other side of the gym. But it's a truly accessible space for like right across the broad spectrum. You know?
That was the biggest thing that kind of appealed to me going in. Because, like I said to you before we started here, I was a bit tentative about it. Because obviously I knew it wasn't disability specific, so to speak. But because you don't know going in what it's going to be like, and for me, most of the experiences I've had, I've been trainers saying you need to kind of figure out what you're doing. I don't really know what to do here. So coming in and seeing the diversity of it all was a real because you're expecting to come in and just see. I mean, you guys are pretty fit looking, you know. So you come in and you just think it's going to be a bunch of bodybuilders, probably something like that. But when you come in and you see just the different people and the different
shapes, sizes, ages, like everything.
That's why the name Everyday Athlete really is a fitting name for the gym as well. It makes a lot of sense. And I guess one of the things I wanted to touch on was when I came in and I was feeling that, and for me it was, I didn't think I would be doing classes and stuff like I said to you before, and then you kind of all seemed to adapt it really quickly. It didn't take long.
It was one of the things we noticed from the boot camp is just the group model is it gets more out of people. It definitely does. The camaraderie, it push, and like you said,
you level up for the person beside you or the people around you,
regardless of what age they are.
I had never trained with anyone before. So
wow.
So for me it was a big deal, and
I didn't know that. I didn't know you hadn't.
No, I had never trained. It was just it all because the whole time it'd been me. I'd been to gyms a couple of years before coming here, and it would just be me coming in and just trying to figure out what I could do and what I couldn't do. That's why when I came in, I kind of had a rough idea of what I what I wanted to do. I just didn't know if it was going to be possible or not. You know, so I've always wondered what that was like for you guys' perspective. As somebody kind of wheels in the wheelchair and you go, what's your first thought when somebody comes in like that? How do you
backtrack it, man? Like as a trainer, as a coach, you go, right, what is the outcome that we're looking for, or the adaptation we're looking for in people when they're coming in? Like we were just talking before this started about the Olympic lifting that we were doing on the run up, and it was like, right, where's the adaptation? You were swimming, you know, and we were like, well, snatching, man, let's get you throwing a barbell above your head, and it's like identifying the goal and then backtracking, like, okay, cool, well that's the plan I have for the class. How do I get the same out of Kieran, or how do I meet that goal or that adaptation fitness wise for you? You know what I mean? Like, and obviously there was a lot of adaptations that we had to make as trainers, like, because obviously there's stuff that we wouldn't program for you. So it's like when you come in, it's like, right, cool, okay, sweet, right, Kieran's in, what do we do? How do we backtrack this and move it around a little bit and make sure you're getting the best out of the program that we've written, you know, because it can be done, right? Everyone can do it.
Well, it's such a good attitude to have, because a lot of trainers I've met have been very dismissive and they're like, I don't really know how to go about this.
I think there's always a fear, because we've had clients in the past that have like had injuries. Like one client in particular, she fell down a flight of stairs. And it, like, trainers have this thing, well, I'm not sure, like, I'm a little bit nervous to train, but there's always something that you can get that person to do. And for you, primarily, it was like, okay, you're in the wheelchair a lot. The same person, an office person, sits down all day.
Posture.
So we're looking at your posture. We're looking at remedial stuff that we can do to make sure that you're not so rounded. So that, looking at you screening you would be no different.
Sometimes we look at them screaming.
Would be no different from anyone else.
I mean, mobility is such a big thing for me. Anyone with any disabilities tend to be more stiff as well. So it's something I hadn't even, because I had trained for a couple of years before, like I say, and I hadn't actually done any sort of mobility stuff. I just came in and just started lifting stuff. You know, so I came in
which does
pretty
the opposite,
stiff,
right? It like brings you a bit tighter together.
And the depth of knowledge you guys had on it was so interesting to me, because most trainers, it's a genuine interest you have in it, which is what the biggest compliment I could make. But also, in my opinion, the thing that kind of struck me the most was how you were so open to the idea, rather than just, you know what I mean, the whole kind of environment we were coming in, and you think how, you know, most trainers will dismiss us and things like that, and there's a lot of people with disabilities that aren't active because they're put off by gyms.
Well, I mean, it took us back to school, didn't it? We were like, right, how do we manage it, and how do we get, like, even like deconstructing the rower? That was Terence when it was his idea, and we were like, we've got a big rowing workout, we've got a big rowing session, like, how do we get Kieran to do the exact same thing and get the same stimulus? It was like, well, we'll find out how to deconstruct the rower and actually make you get in a seated position where you can still work the rowing machine. But that was outside the box.
Also,
well.
I love it and hate you for that.
That was Terence. No, we can pass that back to him.
No, but it got me thinking though, like, when you deal with that kind of situation, for me, it was one of those situations where I'm used to going in and the first question being, so why in a wheelchair? And one of the biggest compliments I can give everyone here is nobody's ever asked me that question. It's always been about the workout. And see any team that I've come in, when I go train myself to a different gym or whatever before, you come in and you get everybody staring at you. Like, and it's fine for me because I'm just used to it, but like when you come in the first time and you're out of shape and you can't do anything and you've got the whole kind of room looking at you like, what's this guy in the wheelchair?
You feel that even more, don't you?
He's on his knees, he's doing battle ropes, is he okay? Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of vibe you're getting. And so the fact that you guys actually nobody's ever actually asked me the specific condition of it, has always been something that struck me as the reason why I kept coming back despite being on and off sometimes. So I guess from that point, what do you guys think that the kind of fitness industry as a whole could be doing more of to include people in that way?
I think the reason you came to us, I think, originally was because the commercial gym you were going to, was it the lift, was it?
Yeah, the lift was broke.
Yeah. And I think first and foremost, people need to, or mainstream gyms need to realise just the entire nature of their entire membership. And like like looking at this facility and looking at what is accessible, but not just making it accessible, but looking after the members themselves. And you don't see that in big gyms. You don't see it in budget gyms. You do tend to see it in the strength and conditioning gyms, and I think that's one of the main things to go for.
Because the layout in here in itself is very accessible. It's got a lot of space and things like that. Whereas you go into a lot of gyms, and what will put people off if they've got a condition like this is it's not actually that accessible to use. You need to actually ask somebody to help you with it. And a lot of the time, the people that are asking to help you, although they're good trainers, they're also like you're not paying them to do it, so they're just kind of like, I don't really want to be having to help you too much because I'm not getting paid to do it. You know? So it was kind of a weird thing for me to adjust to. And then as I came in here, even just socially and through life generally speaking, the first thing you asked is about your condition and all these things, and your attention's always on you. Even if you don't want it, it's just, everybody's kind of looking at you, and you kind of get used to that sort of the way of it, because that's how we're sort of perceived, and that's what this podcast is about, trying to change that perception. But you guys kind of showed me that that's not necessarily the way it has to be. To start off with, like, I came in, and I think that's where the confidence came from me. It wasn't actually necessarily the workouts themselves, but more so the environment of the place.
It's trying to integrate everyone, man, and working together. The classes are a perfect example when you not so much just now post-COVID, it'll be less, but at the time it was like you're working out in groups, and it doesn't matter who you're working out with, whether the person's in a wheelchair or they're 70 years old, or it's one of the younger females. It's like, it doesn't matter across the board. You put groups will get together, and you're training together, and everyone's pulling their own and working hard for each other, and like that environment of community where everyone's working together for again, it sounds cheesy, man, but the common goal of being fitter and healthier. That's pretty much.
And the thing is, people say that, a lot of people say that, and it comes across not genuine, not real, and that's what I want to put across to everybody, is that this gym is like that.
You actually,
you are what you say you are. Whereas a lot of gyms are just try to sell themselves and not actually doing the kind of extra mile that you guys do.
One of the biggest things I love is that every single member that walks through the door, we know their name. We know a little bit about them, their life, their job, and that, and we bring that into the classes, and that's what builds the community.
And it also rubs off on other people. You rub off it and you go, that's the way. I remember coming in here and just thinking that's the way I want to speak to people. The way these guys speak to people is the way I want to speak to people. So I think early on, without me even realising it, you kind of maybe think about things a bit differently. And so from there, it's like I'm just trying to make sure that we can get the word out and get more people with more variety of different things get doing exercise, because the difference it makes to you mentally and physically and all that is so.
For sure, bro.
Because that example you just used there, Tim, just before the lockdown, one of the last workouts of them was with Tim, me and him, and it was like if you came in the scene as two, they're like the complete opposite of each other.
And you've got these. Do you mean the two very specific training plans? You know what I mean, that can go together and
So it's like there's never anything that's not possible to do in that. But to kind of change subjects a little bit, in the first episode I kind of talked about my own kind of mental health and how I sort of the gym helped me through that and helped me figure myself out. I was kind of curious to find out what your own personal journeys were from actually wanting to be in exercise and be in working at a gym. How did that all kind of? What was the spark for there?
I started in software engineering. I was the complete opposite, and ended up going to uni to do software engineering. Hated it. The computing side, brilliant. The maths, I could never get my head around the maths, and I started spending every maths class in the gym in Strathclyde Uni. Eventually came out. The biggest fear was telling my mum I was coming out of uni. Ended up working a year in retail and was like, never in my life am I working in retail again. Went back to uni, did a course in sports management, and part of the course was to do work experience, and I chose the gym. And after my work experience, they gave me a job, and I was actually working on the opposite shift to Tommy. And that's just that's how we met. And I grew into loving a different side of training, because I was the typical high school guy where every day was just upper body day. And then I started working, the very first workout I did with Tommy, he stuck me on a treadmill for 30-second intervals and then a barbell complex, and I ran to the toilet to spew.
Made him sick.
I ran to it, and I was just like, what is this? Why is
my heart beating so fast?
I've never felt this before. It's like, why am I not taking 3 minutes rest in between sets? And then I just got my eyes open to a different style, like Tommy will tell you in a second about his background, but his background was completely different to my background, and then it just kind of, my love for it grew from there.
Mine just I actually went to university first as well to do product design, and I was the exact same boat. I hated it. Like, I was in, and they changed the course slightly, and it wasn't so much hands-on. Like, I actually quite loved the craft side of it, but it became more of a multimedia course than it was a product course. So it was all sitting in front of computers. Hated it. Like, absolutely no time for it at all. I did the exact same as John. I was like, right, I'm out of this, man. This isn't for me. I actually used to, but I put off telling my mum and dad because I was so scared. I went to Waterstones every morning for about 2 months, telling them I'm off to uni. Eventually told them, but during that time I was doing Muay Thai, and I was still fighting and competing, but the real part of it that I really loved was the physical aspect of it, like the training, and you talk about the mental side, like how empowered you feel after you work out, and when you're working towards like getting yourself in a physically better place, it also works at getting you a mentally better place because you feel stronger and accomplished. So I really fell in love with that. I was like, I want to delve deep into the kind of training side. Went to college. After college I did the same thing, got a job at the university, so I done my work placement there, and then worked in the university for years while we did like further education courses, learned more about the fitness industry, different aspects of training, whether it was kettlebells or Olympic weightlifting or CrossFit or whatever it is. We just did lots of different things to get as much knowledge about this industry and different ways of training as possible. Eventually, obviously, stopped the fight game, but my love of the training side of it has grown. It's probably better, like, more now than what it's ever been. Like, I still enjoy it right now to the point of still wanting to learn, still going on courses, still try to educate myself, and I love working out. I really do think the physical side and the mental side kind of run concurrently. Like when you're working out, you're feeling great.
Definitely.
Your mental side's getting exercise as well. If you're learning new skills, whether it's mobility or a new technique, you're it's challenging yourself mentally at the same time as physically. So there's just this really nice parallel between the two things, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, because I think one of the things I've only recently realised actually was just how much I was using the gym and it was helping me, but I was using it as kind of a distraction from how I was feeling mentally. Yeah. Which is kind of a weird realisation to have during lockdown or something like that. So I think that's why you see kind of inconsistencies for me, is I'm not looking at it the right way necessarily. Yeah. So it was more so, I think it's important once you actually look at the gym the right way and go, I'm doing this objectively to feel better and to progress myself. Yeah. That's how you keep the consistency when the motivation's the right thing.
Like, people need to realise when you're doing it, it's not just a short journey. Like, when you're training, you're not training for this year or next year or to go on holiday. It's like, when you're training, you're investing in your future and yourself. It doesn't stop after you go on holiday, or it doesn't stop after you have your soccer or your soccer or your football or your swimming competition. It's like, it's ongoing. And that's one big thing that I learned as well. Like, after competing, I used to train 6-week blocks and take weeks off at a time, but in those weeks I'd binge eat, I'd feel like crap, I'd drinking, and you know what I mean. It's not just about the physical aspect. You don't use it to mask anything else. You let it run alongside your life to better everything else.
I think you could probably say that in a wider scale with a lot of things, like drugs and booze and stuff. Everybody is using these different things as distractions with that, rather than actually like wanting to figure out what works for them and things like that, which is something that because what you talked about there about, you guys know, I'll have an event coming up, so you see me every day in here. Yeah. And then when that event's finished, you won't see me for a month or two, you know what I mean? So it's it's one of those things where you need to make sure that, I think it's important to focus on the mental thing almost first, because the physical side, the physical progress takes much longer. It's a slow building.
It never stops. The physical side is it's ongoing.
I think that's why you get a lot of people, that kind of thing where you start in January and then people fade away. Yeah. It's because they're not thinking about it from the overall, the impact it can have on your life. More so,
I think the social side of things plays a big role in the mental side as well. Like, just from my own experience, after my mum passed, getting my dad, like, you've seen my dad in here, he's in 3 times a week, and he on a Monday, if you saw we call it the old boys club, because there's about 4 or 5 dads of a similar age, and they come in, they train, and then they sit in there and they have a laugh and they have a cup of tea. And it's good. And I think regardless of what's going on in your life, having that one place that you can go to for an hour or even less than that, come in, see people you know, have a bit of banter, and then train, get the endorphins.
Better yourself physically a little bit at the same time.
It's a wonderful thing, and it's something that I hope everyone would have access to.
Well, everyone's always so open to chat and talk, and there's not any bad kind of personalities in here. And because everyone's, even if you've only met somebody once, you still feel like you're friends with them. You know, so it's such a welcoming kind of environment. And anytime that I've thought, I can't really be bothered doing this, and came in, I've always left going, that was good.
You never regret it.
You always leave smiling going, I just did something good. You never, there will never be a time that you go to the gym and you go come out and you go, I shouldn't have done that. No one's ever done that. Even if it's
less burpees.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like, you know, that if you start thinking of it that way and go, objectively, regardless of how I'm feeling right now, I'm going to feel better after this. So you should go and do it. You know, but it's a hard thing to, because it's not. I think just the start of that journey is the kind of hardest part of it, and figuring out. I mean, I just feel like I can't wait for the gym to open again because my whole perspective is different on it. So I feel ready to come in and just kind of try and work on myself. But that was, people have asked me to do, like I've said before, the workout series that I mentioned, and I'm not really particularly as qualified as you guys are that, but it's the idea of they want to see somebody that they can. You know, if anyone in a wheelchair is watching it or anyone with any disability, they want to see if I can do it, they can do it type of thing. And I wanted to wait until I was like better physically to where I wanted to be, because I felt as if I wasn't. I feel as if I'm not quite exactly where I would like to be. But then I realised that you're never really. You're always going to be chasing that. Do you know what I mean? So it's you need to just kind of, if you're sitting and you haven't started it, you need to just sort of start it. And keep going
and enjoy it as well. Like, you need to enjoy the process of doing it. Cause every day that you give that all in the gym, or every day you go to the gym and every day you try and work on yourself, whether it is mentally or physically, it's an improvement, right? You're trying to do something better, so you should enjoy the process of doing it. It's like if you read a new book on sports or whatever it is, it's like you're bettering yourself, so you put it down, you feel good about it. You know, when you go to the gym, you learn some stuff, you get a sweat on, you high five some people. It's not going to remarkably change you overnight, but it's just every single day when you're doing it, new consistencies you're bringing into your life. I
mean, I want to see the journey as well. I want to see where you're at, where you're going to, and what you're training for. That the journey is the big part.
It's always positive feedback you get as well. The two of you, you know, like every trainer here, Paddy and Martin and Terence, you never get anything negative back where you're like, I'm not going to come back here because there's actually been a few times.
Those guys are so mean.
Yeah, because there are gyms, and I can say this as well, is just when you leave for a while and you've not been doing very well and you've not been in, and you come back and you get slaughtered for it. You get where have you been? Whereas that's always I've had that worry a few times coming in here, and I should never have had it, but I had it in my head when I was like, I've not been here in like 2 months. Are they going to be here? But everyone was just happy.
It's more like we miss you, like where you've been, what you've been up to, like man.
And so it's kind of making sure that environment is welcoming enough where you can have it where there's diversity there. But what you just said there got me thinking about training, where I was thinking, is it difficult, you know, because you guys are putting out content every week, especially with this lockdown now, is it difficult to come up with new stuff every week? Like,
we're not reinventing the wheel. What we're doing is we're making workouts fun, engaging, and I guess for us, like if we're going to go into like the COVID, the last 17 weeks when we've been recording workouts, it's like, right, okay, some people managed to get some of our equipment, some people didn't. How can they still experience a good workout, right? What does everyone have in the house? Chances are you've got a backpack. All right, so fill the backpack. It might not be as heavy as you'd like, but you can shove books and tins and that, and you can still get a really good workout out of it. So that's one of the things we were thinking about. It was like, some people have got access to weights, we'll give them a weighted track. Some people don't. Let's give them that, and let's just get people moving. And then the other thing in the back of our head is like, right, okay, if we just post workouts, how many people are actually going to do them? So we needed to do some Zooms, we needed to do some Facebook Lives, and that just gives a little bit of accountability as well.
because it's hard obviously to obtain sustain this place during when you can't really do your usual thing.
Yeah.
And there's two guys that are pretty active and pretty out there, and you're always doing something. You're always busy.
Like, don't get me wrong, when this first started, half our heads were like, oh my god, what are we going to do with the business?
Yeah.
And the other half of our heads were like, right, I really should train, but I'm training on my own in my garage.
Yeah.
So we were FaceTiming each, right, what time are you training at? 2, right, I'll FaceTime
you on FaceTime at that time.
And we'll do it.
Yeah.
It was good, it still wasn't what we're used to.
I was worried for you because that as well, because every gym, because I'm thinking, how are the gym's going to be able to sustain themselves during
on the
this
business side, it was really tough, man. I mean, when we decided to shut the gym, it was before the actual lockdown mandate was given, so and the reason why we did it was just because we were worried that we didn't know enough about what was going on with COVID.
Yeah.
We didn't know enough about it that we couldn't guarantee the place was as safe as it had to be for everyone coming in. And a couple of things happened in one day, and they were talking about how the virus was transmitting, and we train a couple of doctors and we're talking a lot to them, and like in the weeks running up to where we ended up, we were constantly on top of like, right, what do we need to do? We tripled our cleaning efforts, we were making people clean stuff after it. But one day, I always remember, like, we had the conversation when I was standing and I watched one of the members came in and he coughed into his hand, and then he touched one of the surfaces, and then he walked over and shook someone else's hand that he'd seen, and then he went back to the coffee, and I was just like, we don't know enough about this to keep this place as clean as it needs to be right now, and we can't, we just had a bit of a flap where like, I mean, your dad comes, like, do you know, we've got people, mums and babies and stuff, it was just like, nah, until we know more about what we're dealing with, we have to shut the gym. And
that's
looking back,
scary.
we're because when you make the decision to shut your own place down, that's you can't shut your doors then go to the government for help or go to your insurance company for, do you know what I mean, a loss interruption scheme. You can't use anything. But at the time we were like, no, we need to, like, first and foremost, we need to look after the members first. Let's shut the building, let's try and figure out what this thing is, and then obviously a week later anyway the lockdown happened, so it was taken out of our control. But now looking forward, as we're getting to the point that we're looking at reopening, we do think we know enough about what's actually going on and what it is to create a safer space. Like, I mean, nowhere's ever going to be 100% safe. You can't do that with anything, but it is going to be as safe, if not safer, than supermarkets and safer than pubs. And like, we're doing everything we can to make this place as safe as possible, and we've learnt a lot in the process of doing it, which is nice.
I mean, coming back in here and having spoke to you about some of the things you're doing to make sure everything's safe coming back, you can see you guys are really researching and making sure that everything's on point. And it shows that you're not just saying, it's not just you guys you're not just trying to be nice and catchy, you're also, your actions speak louder than words as well, but the fact that you shut it down before even the government decided to do it. So it shows that the athletes are first before. And it was something that I think I thought about. I was wondering about the gym, because I can say from my perspective, I've missed it in here a lot. It's one of those things where you kind of took it for granted a wee bit, and you showed up late a few times, and it was like,
you showed up late?
Well, yeah.
Wait, a few times?
just a few times. I'm not the best timekeeper, guys. Everyone knows it now.
It's like, what's happening lateness?
But I did wonder, just from like an individual perspective, because you've got your own routines and you've got your ways you like to do things, and then it's all of a sudden like everything just sort of changes like that. So what was that adjustment like for two guys that are usually, you're both outgoing, you both come across really positive all the time, and then having to sort of change your whole lifestyle a bit for that first wee while?
I gained 4 kilos like within a matter of weeks.
Training wise, man, it was just, I mean, I would actually say like the other side of it was harder for me, like the business side of it. Like I was like, my God, like I love being in the gym, and I love coaching the classes, I love everyone kicking about and training the fighters, and just the people side of it, and like all of a sudden, boom, it's all taken away. And then you're having to come in and you're filming videos and you're doing Zoom classes, which are fantastic, and you get to see everyone's face. But see, for the first few weeks, it was actually quite emotional for me, man. I was seeing everyone and coaching everyone, and when you're coaching on the screen, you're getting caught up in what you're doing, and then you say goodbye and click it off, and the whole room's silent, and you're just like,
it's not the same as when you finish a class in here. You know,
when you get to see everyone and they're all
people
laughing,
hanging about for a coffee.
There's a buzz around the place. There's a feeling of.
Like, I really missed that, man. Like, really missed that. And even now, like, we're talking how many weeks, Andy?
This is week 17.
17, man. Like, I still find the Zoom sessions like good to see everyone, and then I come off it and I'm like, man, I just can't wait to reopen and see people like actually interacting again and working out. And I know we're not there yet. Even when we do open, it's going to be a different product that we are offering for the first part. But it's really like solidified my view on what I'm doing and how I love like the kind of the job I've chosen, what we've done.
I think it just goes to show when you break your own routine, like mentally, even if you think you're quite have a strong mindset, it does. It throws you again. For me, it was the routine. I love a routine, and when the routine goes, like mentally that bugs me a little bit.
Yeah, because it's definitely one of those things where it seems as if a lot of people are struggling with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You need goals, man. You need something to work towards. I set 3 physical goals during lockdown because I was like, well, I need to make the most of this time. Like, I need to do some stuff, man. The other stuff was just like fix my house because I just moved in. But at the time, I was like, I need to set training goals here. I'm going to be losing it. I've had 2 of them. We're not out of lockdown yet, and I've got 1 more that I want to do before we get back out of lockdown. You know.
But that keeps you kind of driven.
Man. And it keeps a reason and a purpose for training. Because right now, like, nobody's going on holiday. Nobody's like doing fun stuff, going to the pubs or socialising, all this kind of stuff. Like, so people kind of lose like a little bit of, well, what are you doing it for?
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, you need to remember that you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for other people. That when you train, you're training for yourself. And so to set yourself some personal goals goes a long way now more than ever, I think.
Definitely. I mean, the fundamentals of how you feel about things come into question. That's how I'm saying it, about my perspective on it changing a bit was through everything else being taken away.
Yeah.
So I had no other choice but to think about things.
Right, like your swimming's
you
off.
Know,
like the football's off. Like.
And I think because every goal that I had was so kind of short term based that when those wee bursts that I would have were enough to kind of keep me taking over. But in terms of actually fulfilling my full potential and actually doing what I wanted to do, it was one of those things where I had to sit and go, I'm not actually looking at this the right way. And so if you're struggling for motivation, it's because you're not going to be motivated every time you come to the gym. You're going to have days where you're like, I can't bother with this, but it's about recognising that you're going to benefit from it regardless.
No, defos. And I think if you manage to take anything positive out of being in lockdown, like, you've done really well. Because it's a super hard time for everyone. And if you can leave lockdown and when things start to loosen up and we start to get back to life, and if you've learned something about yourself, or you've learned a new skill physically, or you've like that's good times, right? It's like you've taken something from a really hard and bad time in life.
I think it was only because, to be honest, I did get in a really bad place with it all, and I think a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And
same like everyone.
When I'm looking around
had a moment, something.
When I'm like looking around the world and I'm seeing how everybody's struggling with this, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start this, because I sort of realised that I liked helping people and things like that. So just starting that conversation and being able to talk to people and be like, I wasn't feeling like that day. You know what I mean?
It's quite weird thinking like when you're in your own head, you think it's just you, but it's quite weird finding out that actually other people feel like that.
Exactly. We're all human at the end of the day. You know what I mean? We all have different things. There's obvious things that I can't do that you guys can do, but there's probably things that you can't do that I can do that we don't even know about.
Definitely.
So I think there's like,
and even mental strength as well with certain things. Like, I mean, you probably don't know, but people do pass comment and say like, man, like Kieran trains like mad. Do you know what I mean? He busts his ass in here, like people do it. Like people I train even one-on-one that say like, you come in here and kick ass. Do you know what I mean? Your sessions and stuff like that, and that's mental strength. And then some, like you're just saying, there's things that we do that you can't do just now. And it's true, there is, but you never let it hold you back. If you come in and you're like, no, I'm throwing down. Do you know what I mean? And it's all about like, no, I'm getting the best out of my session. For me, it doesn't matter. Like,
exactly.
I mean, I can't do what he does. He can't do some of the stuff I do. You can't do it, but we're all willing to like, do you know what I mean?
That actually is
in the hustle.
I put a video recently where I kind of went on a rant about the labelling of disability, and disabled and all that, and how it's never really made sense to me because we all have stuff that we can't do. And it kind of has a negative impact on your self-image in the sense of if someone's disabled, you know, if your phone's not working, it comes up saying disabled. So what are we saying here? We're saying,
you know, saying that sounds really good. I've never actually thought about this, but we've never once thought, like I've never once referred to you as disabled, or even thought about you as disabled. You know, I've never. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're even like thinking about the ramps and stuff we have in the gym. I'd never call them disabled ramps or what they are. It's just like that's an access point. You know, it's not like you don't label it as something that puts a roadblock in front of someone. You actually have it as, all right, I need to adapt the session. I think that's weird. It's like I need to adapt it because it needs adapted, you know, because
exactly.
That's really interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I'm saying it, because I don't think it's something that's really talked about. But that's why you guys have always it's always been easy to talk to you.
Yeah.
That's where the respect comes from, I feel like, because there's never been a question of your intentions have always been right, and also your whole approach of treating me like a human being, basically, is kind of, even though that seems so, to you guys, you're like, that's just what you would do.
Yeah.
To most people, it's not, you know, so I'm trying to change this whole conversation and saying, how are we labelling people here?
Yeah.
Because it kind of gives you a bad perception of the way that you look at yourself.
Yeah.
Half of the stuff I've done with you guys, I never thought I would have been able to do battle ropes, pull-ups, and all that.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about anything like that. All I was thinking was I would like to be able to bench something heavy. That'd be nice. Like, you know.
Me too, mate. I'd like to be able to bench something heavy.
You know, so that was.
I'd like to be able to squat something.
My whole thought behind it was like that was but what would you say, like, if somebody came to you just now and said, had all these, like, when you talk about people with disabilities and things like that, what is, and if they're sitting there and they're wanting to get involved in the gym and they're anxious about it and they don't actually, because there's a lot of people in wheelchairs, different disabilities. I'm referring to wheelchairs mostly because obviously I'm in a wheelchair, but they don't actually know what they can do. You know, like, there's guys that, like, I come off the chair and train, as you know. Yeah. But there's guys that could probably do that have never done it because they don't think they could do it. Yeah. So what do you think what would be the best piece of advice to give those guys that are kind of
to reach
on
out
the fence?
and they need to talk to? I mean,
send an email.
I've learned a lot. We've learned a lot from you as well. Like, this isn't. We've learned a lot from working with you. Do you know what I mean? And it's some of the times we're guessing, bro. We're like, well, I kind of think I know what you can do. And sometimes I'll be like, yeah, let's try it. And this might be a wee bit too much too soon, but let's try it and see if we go, because I know I'm comfortable with you, and I'll be able to see if you can't do it straight away and be able to move things about. But you have helped us learn not to pigeonhole and think that people can't or aren't interested in trying. Exactly. You know, and I think if someone that's never done this stuff before is thinking about it, then they need to reach out and find someone. Like, obviously if they've had experience before, then it's fantastic, but when we started working with you, dude, I hadn't had any experience, so we were learning as we were going together. You know what I mean? You were doing it on the sweaty side and I was doing it on the coaching side, but you know what I mean, you were still learning from, and there was things that we think like, that would be good, let's try that, man. And maybe sometimes it would rock and you would smash it and it'd be awesome, and then sometimes it'd be like, that's not the desired stimulus, like we'll try something different, you know. And you need to find someone that's interested in it and wants to actually do it, because if they don't want to do it, then they're not going to think outside the box. So,
well, I think that's probably the biggest reason why I wanted to have you guys on, was because the biggest issue here really is that we want to tell people what we can do, what we can't do, but we don't want to say that, and then they go, oh, we can't do anything with you, kind of thing. So
I think that kind of fear can be from anything in life.
Yeah, exactly.
What I mean?
That,
Well, to bring it back to what you were saying, like, I would just want to meet the person. You know, find out, and then let them tell me in their own words what they want to do. Yeah. And then we'll see how we can achieve that.
That's why it was so important that the more people know about Everyday in the Gym, because it's like it's such a rare, like, because you're two genuine people and nice guys, you may not be aware of the fact that most people are not like that. You know? So when you come in and it's like you're thinking, I don't really know if I feel comfortable opening up and everything.
It's a hard one, especially to a stranger.
Exactly.
You do learn as you go as well.
So if you are sitting out there now and you're thinking, I want to get involved in something like this, you know, if you're feeling tentative about approaching a PT because they come across maybe a certain way, you guys aren't like that, and this is the perfect gym for you.
I think no matter what, the biggest thing I could say is that you wouldn't be alone if you've never done the gym. If you're feeling a little bit not nice about yourself, the hardest thing would probably be to walk through that door.
Yeah, and it was a bit scary at first because I didn't know any of you, obviously, and I wasn't in good. You know, I wasn't in condition or anything like that. I hadn't really done anything. Yeah,
but what we'd say to you is that with our mum and baby boot camp, who, like, they're maybe like 12 weeks postnatal, for some of the pensioners that are maybe like they've had issues, like some heart issues or that. Everyone will feel that little nervous, but all they need to do is send an email, pick up the phone, and let us start some communication, and then we can take it from there.
Exactly. We will literally train anyone that wants to train and is willing to train. You know, it's not like shape, size, whatever. It doesn't matter, man. It's like we'll literally take, you know, anyone that's willing to train and wants to come in, have fun, and they're nice.
Exactly.
If they're not nice, and you know,
well, that's
a different story.
That's actually that's an interesting question that you bring that up, actually, because I've never come in here and met somebody that I thought that guy's not really.
Well, I think environment breeds it, dude. I think when you've got, we're really lucky. Like we're the team that work here, me, John, Martin, Paddy, Mitchie, like we're Terence as well. Obviously he's leaving, but we're close. Like we're pals. Like we sit in the staff room and we're friends. We'll socialise together. Like we're actually a tight team. Yeah. And then the members around about that obviously sense it. They talk to each other. They become friends. You know, there's all these friend groups. I mean, I don't even know how many people over the years of us training have got married since meeting at our classes or gyms or babies. You know, it's like that environment spreads out. And when if you're the loose cannon that's not very nice and doesn't go on with people, and you're in an environment where everyone likes each other, it usually kind of cancels itself out. Like these people don't usually last, so we're very, very lucky that we have got now an environment with a lot of friendly people that come in. And I mean, you know yourself when you rock in, you're like, hey dude, what's happening? How was the weekend?
Definitely.
I hope you aren't drinking again.
You want coffee? We'll get you coffee.
And that's the thing about it, is that the sort of how can you have everyone feeling that way? And it's a prime example of what you're saying there is the idea of kind of being able to. I'm trying to think of the words here. I'm losing my words, but from what you said there, the idea of people coming in and they don't. There's no bad vibe in it. It's always positive. It's always
even when people are throwing down during classes, like because some of the stuff obviously in this type of gym does get fairly competitive now and again. But everyone can compete against each other in a completely malice way. Do you know what I mean? It's not like everyone like you throw down and I don't know. Maybe sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose, sometimes it doesn't matter.
Ski race can be tough. A ski race can be
exactly. Ski race teams is the exact thing, man, isn't it?
But those are sometimes the best ones.
One of my favourite things is the pass the ski and then boom.
I love that.
Where you'll go against another team, but it's still you with another couple of people that you're working with.
Yeah, because you can be friendly, but also bring out that competitiveness in you. And it's what I was actually the point I was trying to make there was it's proof that you are what you're surrounded by. Yeah. And so because there's been times in my life where I feel like I've always tried to be a good person. I've surrounded myself with the wrong people. Yeah. And there are people like that.
I think we all have.
Yeah. I like that, and it's good that you.
Definitely, everyone's been in that position now and again. You just realise that you're not quite in the right atmosphere or place for you.
Because I didn't really know there was people like you guys. To be honest, I know that sounds so bizarre to say, but like it's just genuinely so comfortable to talk to, and like it was always so easy to express myself. I was like, I didn't know this was a thing, and it actually made me, from the time I first came here a few years ago to now, everybody, like, I don't talk to anyone that I was talking to when I first came here compared to who I talk to now, because it made me change my whole social environment.
Yeah, that's cool.
But if you're listening to this and you're like, I was pals with that guy, and it's not even about you. It's you could be a good person that I was friends with, but you weren't having a good effect on me and what I needed to do. Yeah. For example, drinking. For me, drinking was something I realised that I can't do at all, just because it had too much of an effect on me mentally. Yeah. So I had to cut it out. Yeah. But when you cut that out, a lot of your social interactions.
They changed dramatically, man. I mean, I know myself as well. When I go into things, and especially when I was still fighting, and I never used to drink during fight camps, obviously, and people would look at you differently. When you're at a party or you're in a club or you're in a bar or something, and you're like, nah, man, I'm not drinking. Like, I can't.
Especially in Scotland. I feel like in Scotland.
What are you not drinking for?
There is that culture.
Yeah. Is that actually? This is not something I thought about, but as we're talking about it, is that something that's difficult to sort of get past this? The Scottish culture of you need to go out and you don't just get it's quite common to drink and take drugs and stuff.
It's easier when you get to our age because we're not going out all the time.
Like we're both in our 30s now, man. Like I'm a wee bit more further into mine than you, but you do. I mean now, like we don't really go out and you know. And I know it's still part of culture and still part of what the young ones do, but
I'm saying it's not.
Don't get me wrong, you can still throw down with the young ones.
I mean, I've been at the Halloween parties. I've seen.
Dude, listen, like, we still like to party and still like to have fun with everyone, but it's not. Do you mean like, is it hard when you get like clients, to get them past that and get them more of a healthy lifestyle.
I'm just meaning in the sense of like the whole kind of way that we look at it in Scotland is kind of toxic, in the sense of if you go a couple of weekends with the drinking, it's like, why are you not drinking anymore? What, and then if you go,
there is a pressure culture and a pressure drinking culture.
If you go in and out, and you don't stay out till 3 in the morning. You're like, oh, why have you not stayed out till some? Like that was what it was like for me anyway. It doesn't necessarily mean that's for everybody, but it seems to be that's what the culture is. So I think the reason why
it's an age thing as well. Yeah. See, as you get older, you'll see that as well. Like we very rarely go out in nightclubs and stuff, but when we were younger, we did. Like we'd work our butts off all week and go out at the weekend, and it would be a 3 o'clock shot. And if someone left early, where'd you go? Like, lightweight, like you leave.
I think it's almost like a paradigm shift because most people live for the weekend, Monday to Friday. But that right now, that tells me that if you're always living for the weekend, you're not liking what you're doing Monday to Friday.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You're always looking for that escape.
You're not enjoying your life. And you can't. You have to have. It has to be a whole picture of things.
So now it's like, how can we fix that? I mean, I can't fix the job that you might not like, or the family environment. But what we can do is we can give you an escape that doesn't involve bad habits.
And also, sorry, just to cut you off there. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but what I was going to just say was it changes the perception of what that person has. Because it's not just like you're not just doing something. You're coming in here and you do this, and being here makes you go, maybe I should look at what I'm doing here.
You're showing them something different.
So it's.
Like we used to joke on a Friday night it was the best bar in town. Like, you know, if you can come in, so it's giving people a place to go that's. It's not the pub, or it's not like.
But it's still social.
But it's still social. And
there's other ways to hang about with people other than.
You can get the endorphins that you might get from drinking or other activities.
You don't have to go in. I think that's what it was that surprised me so much about the way you guys come across, is because in Scotland especially it's such a rarity compared to the way that everyone sort of talks to each other about fitness and. Like if if you go to the gym too much, you're a gym lad, and why does this guy takes it too seriously, man? He should be happy with the way he is and stuff like that.
People throw about terms. It's like if you're constantly going to the gym, or you're obsessive. I care about my fitness.
Exactly.
I can see the lifestyle.
And you can recognise that the benefit is benefit to your development and coming, because I think a lot of people right now are not happy with what they're doing and who they are, and a lot of the reason why it's easier to bash people like you guys, because there'll be people I'm sure that, there's people that I definitely know that would come in and be like, those guys are overly positive and overly this and overly that. Do you know what I mean? It's almost too much for them because they're so used to negativity. And it's kind of trying to break through those barriers of people and say you don't have to just accept that because some of your pals said you were supposed to drink all night or take drugs and do all this crazy stuff that puts you down a pretty terrible path. It said you can join a gym like this and meet people that are really outgoing and positive, and it can change the whole dynamic of our whole culture.
It's always a thing. Like I always say, like people that I train as well, and set yourself a goal, right? What do you want out of life, right? And then when you make choices, do those choices bring you closer or further from your goals? So if you want to be a fitter, healthier person, see when it comes out at the weekend, see when you're going out and getting slaughtered, and if you are drinking and taking drugs and stuff, is that going to get you closer or further to your goals? And see if the answer's further, then it's obvious you don't do it. You know what I mean? Like you need to rein it in and not do that, or find something else that gives you the same feelings without bringing yourself further away from your goals. If it gets you closer, you should feel like a bit of, oh sweet man, I'm crushing this, man, I'm on the way. But like that's what I'd say to those people. Like, fine, okay, well, what's your goal in life? Like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be? Like, are you happy? Are you enjoying stuff? And if the answer is no, then it's like, well, why? Because you could be. If you think about it, like if you really want to do something, and you just baby steps one at a time. You
can do anything. You can really do anything.
Or at least want to go and try. You know what I mean? You want to get yourself there. It's like, right, if I want to get better at something, I mean, if you look at training wise, if I want to get better at snatching, then I need to snatch, I need to practice a technique, I need to learn how to overhead squat, I need to do one step at a time and then one little bit at a time to get myself closer to being better at that. If I don't squat, it's not going to get me closer. If I go out and get steaming at night and I wake up the next day and I feel terrible, I'm not going to train, it's going to get me further away. It's all these kind of like micro choices that you're making around about that big goal, innit?
if we have a big weekend, our Monday and Tuesday, it's not the best training session.
Or working or coaching.
Or coaching.
There's a quote I seen in my book that I read that I thought was really fitting from what you just said there, and it said, when you realise how important the wee things are, you realise there's not really any wee things.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're not able to do the wee things, you're never going to be able to do the big things.
Never did. It's all the wee micro choices that you make that really affect the big goals, and it's the consistencies that play a part in getting you to your end game. You know.
I mean, there was a couple of times for sure where I went out and like it would be Saturday morning circuits 10 o'clock, and I would go out on the Friday, and I would, before I went out, I'd be like, I could go to bed and go to the gym in the morning, or I could go out, and I would go out. Every time that I went out and said, I'd wake up and be like, I shouldn't have done that. Something in your gut knows that you should have stayed in. You should have went to bed and went to the gym. But because of the social environment, because you get your pals being like, come out, people, it's so much easier to give into that. But the reason why you shouldn't is because you have to become comfortable in your own skin. And the older I've got, the more I realise that you can't do it. Nobody else can do that for you.
I think it is something more and more.
And when you experience that a few times in a row, you're like, I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to wake up and feel like I'm regretting something. Like I'm going to learn from that. See, next week I'm going to say no. You know, and then that's the first little choice that you've made that gets you closer to the goals that you have. So it's like, that's another thing. It's like I've just made, and then see when you make that choice and you wake up, you go to the gym and you feel double good because you've made a better choice for yourself and you've worked out and you've got the buzz from training and stuff. You're like, nah, that was excellent. I'm going to do the same next week.
Well, you see, even this conversation, like I've been at the gym. I went to the gym this morning. I did one wee workout, 25 minutes on the bike, and then some weights and stuff. And if I hadn't woke up early, done that, had breakfast, and came here, this whole conversation would be different because I wouldn't be feeling as good as I feel now. So you would be getting a whole kind of dimmer version of me.
The emails that we send out, I usually always bring it on a Monday. Is like never miss a Monday, because if you manage to start your week off and get a training session in, I always find that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday goes better. Right, and it all
just sort of flows together.
And it doesn't have to be killer. It just has to be something to get the week going in the right direction, give you a bit of traction.
And by the way, based on what we've talked about, I do want to say that I know that everybody's different. So we're not saying that you have to cut out booze altogether. You have to do all this.
No, not at all.
You just have to figure out what works for you.
Like if a client comes in and tells me they're eating 12 pancakes a day and I manage to get them to 8 pancakes, I've made a difference. You know, and it's just those small little things.
And I think there's too much of a tendency to come in and be like, I want to get a six pack, or I want to get, you know what I mean? Those things, those physical things don't come overnight.
No.
That comes from years of consistency and dedication to it. But the only way you get that consistency and dedication, which I've not entirely had the whole way through, is by recognising why you're doing it. If you're doing it to get a six pack for a holiday, you're not going to get the result you're looking for, and it's only going to be temporarily. Whereas if you're doing it because you can recognise that this is what makes me feel the best I can feel, so that I can then do the best job that I can in my overall life. If you look at it like that, you just keep going, and then eventually, in time, without even thinking about it, the physical aspect will come with that.
Definitely,
because that's not a question of if, that's just an inevitable thing that's going to come with it.
Just enjoying that process and being down with it and adhering to it, and you know, understanding it as a lifelong.
Exactly. I mean, this might be weird for you guys to hear from me, because obviously before the lockdown, I was so up and down with a bunch of different things, and I was always here for, like, I would be here for like, I remember there was one time I was here for like 6 weeks, and it was like, I was doing really well, but there was a bunch of stuff that I knew in my head that I wasn't dealing with, and it was like, the reason why I was having it so much is because I was trying to distract myself with how I was feeling, rather than how the gym was making me feel good. You know what I mean? So it was always going to burst at some point. So when it burst, it just burst quite big, and I wasn't here for a while. And so there's a mental aspect to it where that's me just kind of looking at it, and having the lockdowns really helped me get there and be like, how am I dealing with these things? Because I just live my life off of using distractions for things to kind of get through the day, and then but then you look at it and you go, that's not the way. Surely that isn't the way. There's a better way of looking at this. You know what I mean?
That's a good show of strength, dude. Like, I mean, taking something as pretty hard as the lockdown and turn it into a little bit of an advantage coming out of the lockdown is a big win, mate. You know, like if you're, and this is probably the hardest time that loads of us have faced in anything. I mean, for us it is very, very challenging. For you, it's going to be really, really challenging. But see, at the end of it, when it's over, if you can take something positive and have addressed that you've got things that you need to deal with before you can make more consistency in your life, that's, you're coming out of this ahead of where you were.
Exactly.
Regardless of how you're feeling, you're coming out of this ahead of where you are. If you can come out of this positively and be like, I've learned something myself.
Is there anything particular you guys have learned about yourself, like through this experience, where you go, I can now...
I've had a lot of confirmation, man, like in what I'm doing and like how I really enjoy what I'm doing and the process of like running this place and the community that we've built. And
I think the fact that our members were with us the whole way during the lockdown phase, like we're like the biggest thing when lockdown happened was like, how are we going to get this business to survive? But knowing that we were still providing the service and our members, like, we'd built such a good community that they want to see us come out the back of this,
and it meant such a big part of their lives that they were willing to support. Do you know what I mean?
I can definitely echo that. It's just like definitely something I've missed. I mean, and that's almost the opposite for me, in the sense of you were able to come out of it and be like, I actually like what I'm doing, and I miss what I'm doing. Whereas a lot of people are going through the opposite of that, be like, I don't like what I'm doing, and it's that's what that's the kind of opposite thing I realised, is I looked at you guys and looked at what you're doing. I love coaching, right? And I know Tommy's the same. And the biggest thing for me is, like, I actually missed, and this sounds bad, but I actually missed getting up at 5 o'clock, getting in here, because
having a coffee,
having a coffee, seeing everyone, talking to them, getting them through their session, getting them, knowing that you've probably given them one of the best hours of their day, and you've done something to not only help them physically but help them mentally as well. And
it's mental, because I that whole attitude you've got to that used to kind of confuse me because I was in such a bad place that I just didn't understand why these guys were so positive all the time. And one of the things I've definitely realised is, and the whole reason why I'm doing this podcast really, is because I enjoy the feeling of helping people.
It does feel good when you go home. Like, if you count it up, like if we teach like a 6 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, the lunchtime class, and maybe have a few clients, we might have seen 30 or 40 people. Right, and we've actually we've made a. I like to think we've made a difference to that 30 or 40 people in
and I can tell you have,
morning,
for sure.
You know, it's
because your whole day. See, the days that I went to the gym in the morning, like 6 or 5, and I come in. See, the whole day that day, I'm doing good stuff. I'm doing productive things. And whenever I've missed it, whenever I've not done that, I've been a bit off it. Especially, if you looked at cerebral palsy specifically, which is what I've got, your brain is that the whole condition is based on your brain. So you're a bit slower taking things in and kind of getting things done. So it actually speeding up my reaction time to things. You're able to think a bit faster because you're the endorphins and all that. It just
and you're making new pathways as well when you're learning physical skills. Like that's fact. Like when you learn new skills, you're making new pathways. And there was always something about the way that you guys approached it that I looked at and I went, that's kind of what I want it to be like. But no, I just hadn't figured out what it was I was going to do, and that's where the podcast has come from. I've got a lot of joy from people's reactions and things. And I think it's awesome, man. Even when you first reached out to us, I was like more than happy.
I mean, having you guys on as well, just because we talked for a while now, but having you guys coming on, and obviously this gym is a very popular gym, and I know that I'm just kind of starting up, so even you guys wanting to come on and talk to me shows that it's not, the egos aren't too big in here. The egos get left at the door, which is
only when I'm benching.
Which is it's a rare thing, because a lot of people's intentions these days, and a lot of the reason why there's such a disconnect throughout the world with things is that people don't have genuine intentions for things, and because you guys have that, it rubs off. And there's people that might look at you and put you in a box and being like, oh, they're just typical trainers or whatever, because a lot of trainers are kind of blended into the same sort of perception themselves, and you are almost what every trainer should be like, but they all kind of act like it rather than, they'll kind of try and put it on rather than actually be like it. Whereas, because I remember the first few times I came in, I was like, surely this can't be the way that they always are.
Those guys are at it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they're too happy, man.
You're watching us to see if
I'm waiting for the cracks to show.
I'm waiting for like a day to come in and they're just snapping.
I don't get us wrong, we still have our moments.
Of
we're
course,
not like we're
of course, but I'm saying
getting this bit of rabbit. But when you come into the gym, you come in here to be taught, and you come in here to have a good hour, and that's what we want to give you, mate. Like,
we want to be the best hour.
I might have had the worst morning of my life, right, and sitting in that office and see if I'm in this gym, and when you guys walk out in this gym floor, I'm giving myself a slap and be like, listen, this is your job out there is bigger than your problems, and you get yourself thingied up and you go out there and you coach these people and make sure they have a really good hour. That's what it's all about, regardless.
100%.
And you can tell that from, you can tell that you genuinely enjoy it, you genuinely get a buzz out of it. And I wouldn't be saying this, I wouldn't be singing your praises so much if I didn't. I mean, you're either like exactly like I say, or you're just the best flyers ever.
He's on to us. He's on to us. Run!
But yeah, and you talked about kind of personal struggles there. Like, has there? Obviously, I know you went through quite a big loss recently, John. And what I really admired the way in which you kind of came in, like you couldn't tell. Like, I couldn't tell. You know what I mean? I seen posts and stuff, but I couldn't tell about it. And I always admired because when I lost my granny a couple of years ago, I did not take that well, and it was not a good thing for me at all. And so I looked at you and I went, that guy he's tough. Coming in here, like, I don't ever remember you missing a day or anything. You just seemed like you just continued.
I took a couple of weeks, and I think the boys wanted me to take more, but again, for me this was a release, because sitting in the house, you're in your own thoughts, and like I needed routine, I needed camaraderie, I needed to be coaching people, and that's how I dealt with that issue, and then because when I'm at home, I was thinking about my dad, I was thinking about my sister, she had weans. I was thinking about other people, and I guess this allowed me to
focus on yourself.
Focus and deal with grief in a different way. Was that probably the healthiest way? It might not have been, but it helped me, and actually allowing me to be surrounded by people was the best thing for me, I think.
Well, there's different ways of dealing with that for everybody, but the biggest thing about it is you figured out what worked for you quite quickly, and it's really admirable, that kind of side of things, because people do struggle with that, especially if you're like how I was saying, how I was in the kind of not a good place and not the best friend group, and then that happened as well. So people that are in a bad place and things like that, and then some of that adds on top of to it, kind of. They don't have that kind of knowledge to say, where did I go, what did I do, how did I deal with this? So that's why I just wanted to ask you about that, because
kind of stretch you back to your first point about surrounding yourself with people that are kind of holding you in a better place, and it's like you know if you're in a good positive friendship group, you know, where you're going to come in and people are actually going to want the best for you, you know. It's like when you come back to work, it's like, right, okay, what does he need? He needs to go out there and coach, because that's his best at, do you know what I mean? That's what you do, and then what do you need after that? We'll come in, we can have coffees, and we can sit and we can talk, and a bit of banter and stuff like that, do you know what I mean? And then, but if you're in a bad social position, where what do? You're going out and getting the piss, and then you're going to go to nightclubs and do all this, and then all of a sudden you're down a hole. It's like, if you're surrounding yourself in a good social atmosphere, man, it helps with everything, you know?
Especially because eventually at the end of the day you're going to be there yourself. So like, if you're doing all these things that are kind of self-inflicting and making it worse, eventually when you're having to sit in your house yourself and no one else is there, that's going to be a tough thing to deal with, and that's why, you know, not to get too deep here, but that's why you're seeing such an increase in suicide and things like that.
Man, I totally agree, mate. Like, especially if you're just hiding things or brushing them under the carpet and stuff. And
that's what I've done for most of my
man.
life. And I think one of the reasons why I'm doing this so much and enjoying it so much is just because I came through that, and I feel pretty good about myself.
It's a nice process for you as well, I bet. To talk about it openly with people that are...
I mean, it definitely is, because I just think it's these kind of conversations, even this one we're having just now, is just kind of a thing where you don't see it much. People are talking about things, and kind of everyone's, you know, the catchphrase. Somebody said something to me the other day that actually really struck me, where they said, the catchphrase for mental health is let's talk, right? But everybody just says let's talk, but they never actually talk about what they want to talk about. So it's always saying, so when you're saying the catchphrase is let's talk, so what are we actually trying to talk about here? Are we trying to talk about how you doing, mate? You alright? I'm alright. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
That's it.
It needs to be deeper than that. Cause,
I think for me, it's like I wanted to come in here, but I didn't want to talk about like my mum. I wanted to come in and just talk to people about other things.
And I appreciate you talking about that.
Almost give yourself like a refresher, like a top up on energy for yourself, because everything else gets.
Because like being at home, there's only so many cups of tea and biscuits, because I think during that time everyone's like, oh, are you okay, and they automatically want to do something for you, and I needed to get out of the house environment and come in here and do a workout, and that was
for me, sitting back and watching you going through that and coming out, that was like, I would always be like, oh, is he okay, but then you would train, right, and obviously like, you've seen your one of your close mates go through all this, and then you'd be thrown down, and then you'd get that wee glimpse and be like, oh, there he's there. There he's there. Do you know what I mean? You can see that when he's talking, talking shit across the mat, you know what I mean? Like going down or having fun, like when you're training, you're like, there's my mate there. You know, you know things are going to be okay when you see that kind of stuff.
Exactly, and that's
an open environment, right? That's that person finding their most expressive point, which is throwing down, having fun, and then they get that wee release, and then you can see you leave here a wee bit more. Okay, cool. I've recharged. I'm good. Like I'm ready to tackle things again.
That's why I was a bit tentative to bring that up at first, because obviously, but at the same time I was like, it's important that we. To me, like I want to change the whole conversation over this. Like in terms of the way that we actually talk about it and get into the roots of people's problems. Because the quicker we can get to the people's roots, the faster they can become the version that they actually like of themselves. So it was good for people to see that, you know, people, even as supposedly on paper, you look at it, they're doing pretty well. You know, you also go through things like humans, you know, and there's struggles and there's up and downs.
Like no one knows what goes on behind closed doors, and it's. I guess this was my therapy. Like, this was
even in the business side, like nobody knows. I mean, we came close to bankruptcy a couple of times in the business. Like we put everything into this place. You know what I mean? There was a few times there was a few squeaky moments where we were like, oh God, man, are we going to make the bills next month? Like, are we going to?
Right, when we first opened, we hadn't run a boot camp for about 6
buildings
months.
Run over,
we
extra
were behind. Like we weren't PTing, we weren't working on anything apart from getting this place. There was some
proper like moments, you know, like but
if we'd coached you wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't have known. You come in here and just like, because again it's like, right, okay, game face is on, it's let's do this, but and it's what we were happiest doing as well, by the way. Like we're not doing that in a totally like, selfless way, like our selfish way. Like for us, like going out to the gym floor and actually coaching was good for us, because it gave us that like, okay, purpose, right, boom, game face, let's do this.
And I think one of the things that gets misunderstood with that sometimes, to play sort of devil's advocate, is that when people go, don't hide things, don't like kind of put on anything like that. But there's a difference between knowing what you want to do and how you're able to say, I'm doing all this work, and I put it in the back of my mind because I'm coaching these people. But the reason why you're able to do that is because you're enjoying what you're doing.
It topped us up, it gave us more. Like even though everything was really, really hard, we were still going out there and doing it, and then we were back out and going, that's why I'm doing it. Like, because you see what I just done there for the last hour, that was amazing, that was awesome, those people loved it, and this is what we're doing, we're creating a happy, safe, fun environment in place. So it gives you that energy to go back and go, right, okay, how do I get these books working, do you know what I mean, let's fix this bathroom up, let's do this part, it gives you the hustle.
What I'm saying is that those two things directly tie into each other, and it directly improves your life, and you know, you can look at it and go, I'm doing this for this, so it's all relative.
But we're still speaking as well, like with what you're saying, like we're very open with each other, and with stuff like that, we would still sit and talk and be like, man, this is tough, like how do we get to the bottom of this? Okay, cool, you're right, bro, you're right, do you want me? I'll take a wee bit of that, a bit more of that this week until you're feeling better. Like there's still like a process in it all. Because
having talked it up and all that, I wanted people to know that we also can talk about these things, and it's such a thing where people, especially for guys, you know, if people looked at the other, they would go, they may not think they would want to talk about this kind of stuff, and nobody really does, but I think it's still important to know because it's different. There's a difference between doing what you're saying there about putting that at the back of your mind to do the classes that make you feel good, and then you go on to do the work in the gym that you're doing.
Yeah.
But people are putting things like the substance abuse and or how they're feeling about their childhood and all that at the back of their minds.
That takes it back to the goal stuff though. Like when I would be going in to I wouldn't put those problems at the back of my head. I would just be like, right, I need to go and do this. But see, by doing that, was it getting me closer or further away from my goals?
Do you write down your
getting
goals?
Me closer. I do actually. I write them down. So at the start of lockdown, my physical goals, I wrote them down. Mental goals, not so much.
Yeah.
But my physical goals, I write them down just to keep myself accountable. And I've actually got a check sheet on my phone of how many times I've worked towards them. You want me to show you my check sheet? Just so you know I'm not talking rubbish.
Curious.
I'll show you my check sheet.
I ended up buying this weird, but I bought a journal.
Weekly homework, see it? And then that's the tick boxes. And I make sure they're all balanced as well. So I'm actually working my way through my
I actually, because it was something that I started doing during lockdown, and because I had nothing to do, and I had to self-isolate because I was more vulnerable, so to speak. So I'm in there, and it was like I get up in a day is usually like gym or football or gym or football. So it's usually one of those two things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're away, so I'm like, right, so the first week is terrible, a couple of weeks is terrible, and I'm thinking, I need to start to do something here. So I start writing down wee things like go and do 20 minutes on the bike, read a bit of a book, do something different, go outside and just go a walk or something.
See, already you might not class them as it, but those are little tasks, little goals, and you're setting yourself closer.
And actually, do you know something that was interesting? It builds up strength in yourself and belief in yourself. And to say, if you write down a goal and do it, subconsciously your brain goes, you've now gained confidence and belief that if you set a goal out, you can do it. No matter how small or big it is, your brain still has the same effect on it.
I agree. Always think about like a recipe. Like if you're making even a Sunday dinner, there's lots of little things to make that happen, and then you get the end result. So it's like doing mobility stretches before the workout. You think, you don't really need to do that. But if you don't do that, the next day you'll wake up pretty sore. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the wee things do matter like that. They do.
You know. So how long have we been going on for, you guys?
That is
1 hour and 13.
Oh, that was pretty good. But yeah, I know you guys are busy, so I'll kind of wrap it up here. But is there anything that you guys want to add that we've not really?
Dude, I think on reflection of this, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you mean, because the more and more I was thinking about it, like obviously when we come in and we're coaching and you come in and you're training, and I've never actually thought about how much you've actually made us grow as coaches. I really haven't. I've never thought about that, dude. Like
it's made
when you
us
come in,
outside the box
thinking now, I'm just like, man, I've just enjoyed doing what we're doing, and seeing you love it has been amazing, right? And like training and trying new skills and learning shit's been awesome. But at the same time, I've never actually sat back and thought, God, actually, he's made us get better at our jobs as well, because we've really had to think outside the box on a lot of things, and for you to get the most out of the training, and thank you. I never thought about that before.
I really appreciate that, and I'm kind of blown away by that, to be honest, because I mean, you have done so much for me that it's almost hard for me even describe. I've tried my best through this past hour, but so it's amazing to hear that.
I think just doing this and sharing your experience, it might actually open up someone who maybe isn't feeling good about themselves to not even, might not even be this gym, it might be any gym, but just think about their lifestyles and maybe make small good changes.
That is why I'm doing this, because I've if you get a chance to listen to the first podcast, I basically go into how I kind of discovered what my main motivation things were, and that is to really help people. I have no necessarily personal gain out of this. The only reason why I want it to become bigger and get a bigger platform is so I can reach more people.
Yeah, 100%.
Because see, when I leave here, I'm going to have a really genuine buzz out of how the conversation and what we've done here, because you don't know how it's going to go beforehand. You go, how's it? I've not actually. This is the first one we've had with a guest, so you kind of go into it and you wonder how's the conversation going to flow, and it's went exactly how I imagined it in my head. So that's I'll come out of it and I'll be excited because I'll know that this conversation will have a positive impact on. And see if it just has a positive impact on one person. I've done the job here.
I hope so, like physically and mentally. person listens to it and goes, maybe I could try that I didn't really feel confident in doing, you know, like, I mean, Kieran's obviously got over a lot to get in and do what he's doing, so why can't I?
Yeah.
You know, and like, that's definitely one thing that everyone can.
Yeah.
You can always give it a go and see, you know, as long as you find someone that you're comfortable learning with, you know, like, there's no reason why
and they are out there. They are,
man. They are more than people would think.
Exactly. And one of the things I did want to say before we finish here, I've just remembered, is the workout series that I've agreed to kind of start doing is going to be mostly based on what I've learned from you guys.
Good, man.
So just think,
share the love, bro.
My knowledge on it is fairly limited, and I'm still kind of I'm studying, and I have studied. I've got HNC and
you're doing your courses.
So I have done a wee bit of personal training studies, but I'm obviously not in like you guys. And most of the things I've learned is through you. So if you see the videos that I'm going to put out, it's based off of Everyday Athlete Gym. So I just thought that was worth mentioning, because I don't want people to think that I actually know what I'm talking about.
You do, man. You've learned a lot along the way. Picked up some stuff.
I mean, it's been a really knowledgeable experience. I think the biggest thing I took out of it is actually you've helped me learn it myself more than anything else.
Good.
And especially when you come up and you're like, well, how come you have dropped off? Like, because it's not like you're not
I
asking.
I was sending you like pictures of Liam Neeson from taking, like, where are you?
Yeah.
But
there was something about that even, you know, sometimes you'd message me like that and I'd be going through a really bad time.
Yeah.
And but I didn't want to say it because it's just I was not in a place where I was comfortable to say it.
I think to take it back to the mental health, it's like if Tommy comes to me with a problem, 90% I'm not going to be able to help fix the problem, but what I can do is maybe take his mind off it, and in a roundabout way. That's like, because I'm not going to be able to give the advice that fixes that that one thing.
But it's just a wee nudge in the right direction.
And that's not me asking, is he okay? That's just me helping him.
Exactly. And every time you've done that, it's made me smile a little bit. Like, you know, it's like, because you kind of feel wanted a wee bit. Like, maybe I should go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? So there's been a couple of times where I've been on a bad run, and those kind of wee messages have helped me just kind of think about it differently. Because like you say, you can't really change someone's opinion around that. It's just about, hopefully saying something that makes them think about it themselves differently. Yeah. And then it opens up a different kind of conversation. But yeah, this has been really fun, guys. And I really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Hope we can do it again at some point.
Definitely do a catch up one. Get another bunch in, right? And then we'll do a catch up. Post COVID, right? We're actually back training. We could do one and be like, right.
We could record a session together. Watch you two absolutely bust me.
Easy. Right, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank you.
No,
Good fun, Kieran.
Cheers.